Welcome back to day one of the Quake World Championships. I'm DJ Wheat, now joined by Flea and Lethal here on the desk as we usher in our second matchup of the day. Flea, how is it going?
It's going wonderful, man. So happy to be here. Best players in the world, as well as some new challengers eager to prove themselves. So this is what Quake's all about.
Awesome. I hope you brought some data with you because we'll
Always.
be asking. Good. Lethal, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. We had a great first series already, so, you know, keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah. Definitely an interesting one. And we're going to continue on with that tradition of seeing sort of the players that came and were playing through the 18 weeks of the QPL Season 3, and then bringing in the challengers. In this case, we're about to watch dramiS versus RMV. And we did get a chance to actually sit down and have a chat with dramiS before. Let's check out what he had to say.
My gamer tag is dramiS. My seed, I'm coming in at 9th seed. I've been playing Quake since I was about 5, 6 years old with my dad, and then competing for about 4 or 5 years. I'd say Slash is my favorite champion because I like to crouch slide a lot, and I guess it's just the fastest character in the game, and I love speed when it comes to Quake. My favorite weapon is the railgun because you can pinpoint anybody across the map at any distance, and you can even come up close and hit them from real close up, which I like to do, and people don't like that, but I like it. So this season's been a little up and down. I'd say in the beginning I had some really good wins, beating Rafa, Wenger, and RMV, and then had a little bit of a low in the middle of the season, maybe got a little content with myself after the Rafa win. And then coming back, I wanted to make sure that I didn't end up too far down in the seedings coming into the bracket, so I could get myself a nice spot in the bracket. I did a lot of preparing outside of the game. I've just cleaned my life up basically outside the game. Got really healthy, been running, working out, and all that. So just trying to make it so the game's my sole focus when I get there, instead of thinking just about all the other stuff outside the game. So. I honestly am ecstatic about it because the fact that we were playing online and being from America, we were playing actually a lot of the games across the coast, and I have a good ping to Europe, so it was making it so I was having 2 of the servers every time on Europe. So I'm definitely real pumped to get back on the LAN. Fair playing field is gonna be nice. Put a lot of time into this. I was doing Quake full time for about 3 years or so, so if I could bring home that belt, I know I'd be proud, and I know my family would be ecstatic to have our name on it, because my gamer tag being my last name backwards, they're basically going to have our last name on it. It'd be nice for them. I'd say I'm in a pretty good spot. I don't know too much about my first opponent, which can be good, can be bad too, because I just assume that just means he hasn't competed a lot. But my whole side of the bracket's definitely tough, considering I'm going against my teammate as well right after this. If I win, and then I'll be going right into Kilson, who's obviously doing real well. But if I can take those 2 out, I assume that I can make it to the end of the bracket and do real well in the grand finals if I'm there.
Some great observations there from dramiS, and I think one that we definitely echo and have talked about over the course of the 18 weeks, right? These just sheer signs of brilliance, just immaculate gameplay, a solid aim, just it all coming together. And then other times where maybe that didn't quite happen. But the nice thing about being here for the Quake World Championships is that you get to kind of wipe all of that clean. You just start, you go. Flea, your thoughts on not only dramiS, but his performance throughout the season?
I mean, he went over it himself, right? Got off to a really solid start, beating Rafa, RMV, Wenger, some of the best players in the world, but then he really had a bit of a dip, right? Losing to the likes of CNZ, Maxter, Zeneku 3-0 without taking home a single map. Now he ended the season on a pretty high note, beating both Sparty and Psygip again, but still, definitely not that consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to add to that as well. The fact that at the very beginning, he was beating every kind of clear favourite or favourite you could predict in a Quake World Championship. He defeated him so early on. And you're right, though, there was a bit of a dip here and there towards the end, but that's where you got that 2 or 3 week cycle from the last week leading up to this, where it just completely changes. Because a lot of these players probably won't expect them to be as good as they are leading up to this moment, just due to the amount of drilling, the scrims that are going to go involved. But dramiS is one of those people where he's just an entirely different force just to reckon with. Any opponent he comes goes up against. And if we see that now compared to how much he's improved over the last 12 months, then it could be a really big dark horse.
Yep. And let's talk a little bit about RMV, right? His opponent, one of the great challengers that fought their way through a qualifier to make it here at the Quake World Championship. Flea, what do you want to tell us about RMV?
I mean, not that much of a history, at least when it comes to Quake Champions recently. He's been playing a whole lot of those community tournaments, but has yet to really prove himself against the big dogs, right? Now, I've been watching his games for a little while, and one of the things that I can definitely say is that he has a very broad champion pool. With some players, you can really see that they favor the lights or the mediums particularly, but when it comes to RMV, he's all over the place, very consistent, very comfortable playing any class of champion, so that really works in his favor.
Yeah, and add to that as well, it's interesting in itself just due to the fact that the last 18 months he has been lurking around in the scene, just slowly improving. But I kind of feel like the last 12 weeks where he's kind of come out of his shell, he's made some dramatic improvements across the board here. And you've got to remember, this is his first LAN. This is baby steps for him. And of course, he's very young as well. So this is another player here just trying to make it to a scene, trying to make a name for himself. And even just winning 1 or 2 series here will give him a huge boost in confidence, especially going forward.
Yeah, you know, we often talk about LAN experience, and it used to be one of those things that was such a deciding factor in like how you thought people are going to play. But I really do feel like just in esports in general over the last few years, it seems like it's kind of gone away, right? I don't know if enough people have talked about it that it's just like less of a mental issue. People are just ready to be like, hey, I just want to be in like the best possible game environment that we can. Will that happen here? I don't know. We're going to see. But let's take a look at the picks and bans for these two players as we gear up to head into the next matchup. We've got Vale kicking us off on to Corrupted Keep, and then finally Blood Covenant and Lethal. I'm going to go to you. Any thoughts here about the champion picks and bans that we see?
I'm glad that at least Ruins was banned for RMV. I know it's not really been his cup of tea, but then again, Vale and Awoken has been dramiS' best maps. He managed to get Vale straight away. Corrupted Keep is going to be an interesting one in itself with the Vale not being in play. Hopefully give RMV a little bit more room to breathe and try and at least establish himself a little bit more across the map. But even going on to Blood Covenant, and with the Athena pick for dramiS, I'm a little bit worried.
Blood Covenant really is the standout map here, right? Because you've got Slash versus Athena, two of the absolute fastest and most mobile champions in the game. You heard dramiS talk about it during his interview, right?
Right.
Slash is my favorite champion.
Yeah.
He loves the speed, and now he's got Athena, who's speedy, but in a very different way.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to wonder, right, if it's your favorite champion, does that mean that you're also well-versed in going up against that champion, right? I mean, it's one way to look at it. But, yeah, this will be another best of 3 to determine who moves on in the upper bracket and who will drop down to the lower. But once again, we see a QPL regular facing off against these challengers. And I think keep an eye on the challengers all weekend long. I think just as we saw in game number 1, I mean, of course, both players kind of challengers in that, right? But I saw some interesting matchups. Could see something similar here. So we're just moments away from getting started. Any thoughts, predictions, or final thoughts as we head into our second series?
I think a lot of us would say, and it would be rude to say as well, but it should be a dramiS 2-0, surely, just due to the experience he has in comparison to RMV. But then again, you know, it could be a 2-1. It depends on the circumstances. But from what we see, he's got Vale, he's got Blood Covenant. Either way, even if it's 2-0 or 2-1, he should be able to take it.
Yeah, I'm also favoring dramiS in this matchup. Just looking at the picks and the bans, but also the experience, right? You said that it matters, or perhaps matters a little less now than it used to. But still, this is the first time that RMV is out there on the big stage, having to really prove himself. So I am going to favor dramiS as well, but I would not be surprised if RMV puts up a nasty performance today.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that is certain is that either way you look at it, right, you're kind of getting an idea on what you might expect from these players throughout the rest of the days that we've got here. You know, for one, dramiS, who beat some real big heavy hitters early on in the regular season, this could be the matchup where we go, all right, dramiS is in the form that we saw him earlier, and who knows how he could blow up this whole bracket. So RMV on the flip side, you know, sometimes the LAN jitters can be rough, and other times it's just like, whatever, I'm getting that 0 millisecond rail, and that's where it's at. So we'll have to see as we get ready to kick us off. Gentlemen, I'm going to let you take this one. Enjoy, and I'll be back on the conclusion.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Wheat. But yet, second series of the day here, Flea. And there's a lot to talk about. We talk about a lot of these challenger players here and there, but especially with the new faces and the fresh faces, some of the top players won't really have much knowledge in terms of the maps that champions have like to go ahead or prefer or favour. So there's a lot of things you can take advantage of here, but let's see what happens now between dramiS and RMV. And of course, we are kicking off with dramiS's POV.
dramiS rocking the kill, big body, heavy champion, the grenades, the pineapple, so powerful on the map that is Vale, rather. Now the players getting off to a relatively slow start. dramiS lacking the railgun. Quake RMV has been able to secure that LG though, and they're immediately going to face off at the rockets.
It certainly does. dramiS is keeping it high control. Established that very early on. It's going to be very difficult with the kill pick for RMV, considering just keep away from those close quarter angles. Of course, with those pineapples flying by. Standing his ground for now and just trying to see exactly on the whereabouts. As RMV's been a little bit sneaky here, Flea. Just trying to stand guard around that mega bit. Hits him with that first rail, which is going to be so important for that chip damage.
And another one. Good start. Oh, but that's nice defensive damage from dramiS. Eats another rail though. Can't contest for this heavy any longer. Though it does seem like RMV is going to favor the Mega instead. Maybe hoping to do some damage. Won't be able to. Has to retreat and fall back.
Yeah, it certainly does indeed. dramiS trying to back away, but RMV is hitting really hard at the moment. There's been a few times he didn't really have that get out of jail free card, but now just trying to stand by here and using that off to go through to the TP. Something I don't think he actually expected, and dramiS now was thinking of dropping down for him to try and hit another rail, but decides to back away and just hold another great angle for this heavy, and that's a very risky rocky jump, but still managed to get it in the end. Oh, in the end, dramiS does take him down. That's a good play for RMV, but in the end, it's going to be dramiS with that first frag.
Looked a little dodgy for a second there. dramiS going for the midi, missing the shot. Ultimately still able to clean it up, and now both players pretty balanced in terms of stack. But it is, of course, dramiS who has a massive advantage in terms of weaponry. He's now sitting on the rockets. He knows that that is such a powerful weapon on land that RMV definitely wants to get a hold of it, and he wants to deny it for as long as he can.
Yeah, dramiS doing a great job just in general with ammo management. Oh, if that rail hit, that would have been huge there for RMV. Picking up that mega would have stopped dramiS getting from the heavy also. Yeah, it's just going to be backing away just on that recovery process. You can see exactly where he's going to come from. I don't think he's used to the passiveness in terms of the plays RMV's making, but still just standing his ground anyway, just in case he does something a tad unorthodox. But still, items aren't really heavily segregated as of yet, so we'll see exactly how things will pan out in the next couple of minutes. dramiS still keeping the high ground here. It's going to be a little bit difficult for RMV. It's taking so much damage for those last 3 rockets already, and that's going to be a very clean frag for dramiS. Picks up the heavy, may not get in time for the mega, we'll have to see, but does hit that first rail, does a fair amount of damage, and trying to at least try and clean up in any way he can. RMV so he does dive on in to try and at least trade things out, but doesn't happen. It's going to be a 3-0 favour of dramiS.
Little too aggressive by RMV there, going for the ore push. Now very little time between the items, and RMV still lacking the weapons that he needs to really make an appearance. So this looks like dramiS should be able to secure at least heavy. Maybe with a quick rocket jump, following it up onto the mega. He's just gonna take the long way around. Here's the teleporter, knows exactly where his opponent is, both trying to get onto the mega, but it will be RMV. Does a lot of damage, dramiS landing nothing. This could be a turning point.
Oh, it certainly could, and RMV, his rails have been phenomenal since the very beginning. Just needs to try and continue that pressure if he can with that chip damage, but trying to back away again on 57 HP. We'll have to clean him up. No, he does not. dramiS will win that little scuffle. And just only a few minutes in play. Hits the first rail, but dramiS is the one with 20 HP. Risks for the heavy, managed to pick that up. Now to be backing away once again. He knows exactly where he is, especially from that last rail, and already he's recovered.
Railgun has been so important for RMV. He's hitting 66% rail, and that's really the only thing that has stopped dramiS from getting full control, full domination of all the items. So as long as RMV can continue hitting those rails, he's not in too bad of a spot, but he's got to start making up some frags soon.
Does indeed. RMV still packing a punch with these rails here. Picks up the heavy and gets away. Not too much damage taken. Now looking to go for the mega as well. So trying to do his best to establish some authority with the item control, but the rails, the pineapples, the rail once again from dramiS looking so good. Looking for the spawn, but looks like RMV just barely manages to get away.
I love the play by RMV there, going for heavy, so dangerous, but he had the orb. That was his get out of jail free card. dramiS had to give up both heavy and mega, but the amount of damage that he was able to do on the mega pickup was just obscene, and it ended up costing RMV his life. So good play, but ultimately the damage on dramiS's end was just too much to deal with.
Does risk for that heavy with that rocket jump, picks it up, but takes a rail in the process. This is the first. Pineapple doesn't hit either, so he does get away. He's been up for a few seconds. We're finally being picked up here, but I like this from RMV though. He is looking to be quite aggressive, quite futile in terms of what he wants to do. That was a brilliant spawn rail straight away from RMV just to continue that pressure forward, and he needs to, because we're just past the halfway stage here. Now RMV definitely has a chance to come back in this matchup.
Oh, absolutely. Plenty of time left. Small map like Vale, those frags, they can escalate quickly. Now Heavy is up, eyes on the prize for both of these boys. So quick on the orb, but again, the rocket thwarting his plan into a rail. dramiS playing out of his mind right now.
He certainly is. He's trying to stop things from going out of control, and that's one way to start things off as RMV going up towards the mega. Does pick that up, but does a little bit of damage here and there collectively just to see if he can add a little bit more to the tally, but does not. Just decides to wait for this next light. Heavy's up in the next 5 seconds, but it's going to be crucial here for RMV. Could he make or break for him to go for this in order to try and win? And yes, he does. If he lost that bout, then we could be saying GG quite early, considering the circumstances he's been in over the course of time, but looking good. RMV's still trying to make his mark and establish some kind of control, but with his rail and the chip damage and the accuracy he's showing, he can definitely do that.
Something we've heard a lot of players say, right? Heavies are very difficult to play on land because they're so easy to hit, and that's exactly what happened right there. dramiS losing out on that LG battle, went all in. Didn't work out in his favor. Now Heavy up in 1 second. Both players dancing through the teleporter. Who's gonna make a move for it? RMV, surely he can't make the jump across. Indeed, is going to try and juke dramiS, and that's beautiful! Up the bounce pad, through the teleporter, completely throwing dramiS off, and then the SSG super shotgun cleaning it up.
57 damage from that range, not too shabby with the shoddy there. As it came through that TP, but dramiS has the information he needs. Just a few minutes left now as RMV will have to start being a little bit over-aggressive and a bit more risky over the next couple of minutes here. As RMV still got a huge stack to work with. dramiS is so weak as well. He's looking to try and back away, and he's been even more cautious and not too overzealous here, just due to the fact that he knows some of the rails he's been hitting so far. Comes out with a shoddy, and we're so close to a tied game. Only one more frag to even things up.
The tides have definitely turned in favor of RMV. He's out picking dramiS in terms of the items, and he's starting to broaden that gap in terms of damage. At this point, around 400 damage of a difference favoring RMV, so it's slowly starting to edge in his favor. If he can take dramiS down here, that will be huge. Looking for a heavy spawn. Okay, the orb gets him both the frag as well as the item. This is so good for the British player.
Oh, lovely stuff, and RMV just consistently whipping out the shoddy and just doing a huge amount of damage. Now dramiS is just trying to establish some kind of control again, but seems to be really struggling. And the orb, I love how he just used it in more ways than one, hasn't he, as you spoke before. Picking up the heavy and just trying to get away by taking minimal damage, or just use it, of course, for execution and cleaning up the frags. If dramiS got some good rocket damage there, beautiful midair, and that's going to help him tie things up. Just a couple minutes left standing, and I must say, RMV is looking to really try and prove himself, and he certainly has done in this matchup.
Spawned on LG, so he already has that in his arsenal. dramiS is able to secure the mega. Now No Dot going to try and hold down this center area of the map around Heavy. Hoping to maybe get some free rail damage, but oh! RMV actually was in a completely different position. Lucky for dramiS that that shot barely whiffed him.
Still managed to pick it up though. Will he be able to get away? That's going to be the next question. Not a huge amount with the rockets and missed that last rail, but still on the hunt. But RMV was expecting it. It was coming through that rocket area, and now it's only a minute 10 left standing. Of course, with the starting stack, it's going to give dramiS a little bit of room to try and again establish himself, but the problem is a minute 5 left remaining. RMV could be looking to create this upset in this second series of the day, and this would be a fantastic start for him and a huge confidence boost.
Absolutely. Now there's a big delay between the two items, so this could be difficult for the player out of control. Not gonna be a lot of room to trade one for the other. Now RMV, he does have that 1 point lead. Can he steer clear from dramiS for another 40 seconds? He's definitely outstacked. Orb will be back up, so he's got that ability to work with. dramiS going for the rocket jump. Orbing away, can dramiS follow? He should be able to clean this one up. One rail will do it. Little smidge of LG as well, but oh, so sneaky! Rocket into rocket and barely gets it. 8-8 all tied up, but RMV now spawning with a fresh stack. What can he do with this?
It's still quite worrying because dramiS had that huge stack and still only barely won that fight, but RMV's coming in now with the rockets to see if he can finish this off, and he should be able to, but instead he's actually backed away, but he can still pick up this mega. Heavy's up for another 20 seconds. So RMV with a huge stack advantage, and dramiS knows this. He needs to play this smart, play this as slowly as possible and try and go on that recovery process. Look and see exactly where he is. Here's the indicator with the TP. RMV knows it's directly below. Hits to such important rails here from dramiS, looking for another. But it seems that he has backed away. But then again, dramiS now picked up the heavy and a complete role reversal here, Flea.
Absolutely. Let's manage to glide armor. Oh, so aggressive RMV again. dramiS 14 HP, both players railable. Neither shot will connect. This is sudden death. The next frag will seal the deal on map 1. Neither player wants to risk it though. Both will retreat for some more resources, and again, down to around 50 health each. dramiS first one to get some more stack, but it is RMV who's in the better position for heavy.
Yeah, RMV was so confident. He desperately wanted that last frag just to seal the deal and have a nice advantage in the series. 49 HP, but some good damage from dramiS as well, but it's not going to be enough as RMV does get away. 3 seconds until his next mega, and you can see RMV was looking to put some added pressure on to delay him from going for the mega, or at least go for some authority. But now circles around, hits the first rail. Great pineapple from dramiS. Will he be able to get this last one? He backs away again. Both of them missing their rails, but the thing is though, dramiS isn't railable. He's trying to get away, and RMV does in the end.
How did he escape that one? Now Mega not up for another 10 seconds. dramiS has a real good opportunity to clean it and end it now. Now he's going to go through the teleporter. And dramiS looked away just a moment too soon. That could have been it. This is really good for the Dragonborn esports player. Just look at that stack difference. Already putting himself in position. Oh, RMV manages to get out without taking a single point of damage. Talk about a breath of fresh air right there. But it will be dramiS who's set up for heavy. He will still have that stack advantage, even denying the small armor before picking up the major.
I can't believe how many times RMV has managed to get away. His defensive rockets, how his rocket jumping out, of course, with Ranger's passive ability working wonders here. Hits that first round from dramiS. Backs away again. Mega is up, but it doesn't matter. RMV has already picked that up. And as you said before, items are still heavily segregated. dramiS is in a prime position to try and go for this heavy with that height advantage and just rely on those audio cues. He's thinking about going for that TP. Guzzwolls, his back's turned, but is it going to be enough though? So similar HP. So unfortunately, dramiS is going to try and go for him. RMV's still tempted to try and take this fight if he can. And will he want to chops down once more? Heavy is still up, remember, so he could back off and try and go for that if he can. If he wants to risk it, he's definitely in a prime position to do so. Now RMV again with a huge stack advantage.
Lethal, how many situations are we going to get into where both of these players are railable and then they both miss? This is incredible to start off this series. Still 8-8 tied up. We're about to enter our 3rd minute of overtime. Both players now looking at a decent stack. They're both comfortable. Heavy will be the next prize, and they're both eyeing it up. Neither really has an exact idea of where their opponent is at. dramiS is going to be the first one to give away his position, but it will net him the item. Now it's a race for the Mega, and RMV takes that. Just a lot of back and forth in this situation.
Yeah, we already had a close first series today, second series. Now you've got to remember, this is the 9th versus the 24th seed, and this sudden death already 3 minutes in. And look at the items again. They are not as segregated as they were once more. dramiS is just directly above him. You saw that, and instead it's just turned away, and RMV looking not to give away his position. So it depends on who goes for it first and who's going to take that risk. So RMV will take the risk in the end. dramiS hits the first rail though. So important to have at least that early lead to try and go for this next frag, final frag, to add to the tally. And dramiS knows it doesn't matter how he wants to go through, but that was again an important rail from RMV just to add that chip, just to even things out.
RMV currently out-damaging dramiS by around 900 points, so that's quite significant. Rails again being exchanged. Neither player really looking all that comfortable after that one. Again, there will be a split between the items. dramiS going for heavy, RMV having to fall back on the Mega. Mega still hasn't been taken.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise. It takes it eventually.
That's a nice delay. Maybe he's already planning ahead, trying to offset the items. If he can
True.
now get heavy, he will be looking very solid in these next few minutes.
True, and he's finally picked up the light there just to... Just a little bit more. Again, an important first rail. And we have to say, like, with Vale, it's quite hard to get that chip damage sometimes, depending on where your opponent's holding or standing. But he jumps in for the heavy, goes straight in. But we have to do much. dramiS hits him hard at the last one, but he hits him back again. But in the end, dramiS is going to be the one who takes it after a very long and hard-fought sudden death there. And my word, what can you say about that? And you can see 47% rail from RMV, 40% from dramiS. And yeah, made him work for it, Flea.
Oh,
100%.
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, the main thing, Lethal, that really stood out to me in this match was just how much respect these players had for each other. Tremendous amount of mutual respect here, right? So often that one player was low, was weak, but the other just didn't feel comfortable pushing because of the amount of rail damage that was coming out. These rockets, the defensive grenades, neither player just felt confident in their own ability to just take the fight head on, and they were always being very respectful of the other, backing off, waiting until they had the perfect time to push.
How many times did RMV get out of a bad situation? 4, 5, 6 times, getting away with those rocket jumps towards the heavy, knowing that dramiS is most probably going to be holding that angle with the LG or the rail just to keep him pinned down on multiple occasions. But what a way to start this second series off. And it's like I said before, dramiS is the 9th seed, and RMV is the 24th seed coming into this matchup. And a lot of people would potentially write RMV off because they don't know huge much about him in terms of his play style and how he turns up, the map choices, champions, etc., etc. But so far, so good. And I think RMV, even though he lost that first map, the way it ended and how close it was, it's going to give him a big confidence boost, thinking to himself, well, do you know what? I could take this. There's no reason why I can't.
Absolutely. He should feel good about himself. Definitely coming out swinging very, very close in the end. Now, map 2, Lethal, is going to be Corrupted Keep. No railgun in the arena. And rail, you can see it right there on the stats, 2,300 damage with that weapon alone. 47% rail accuracy was really instrumental to RMV's game plan. So now on a map that doesn't have this key weapon, I do wonder how he's going to approach this.
Yeah, some people have been saying that it's a bit easier to hit these heavy champions on LAN, and you know it's going to depend on how dramiS is going to play in terms of like the champion picks he makes in the next 2 maps. But it's like I said before, from RMV, from his perspective, he's going to be happy that it's not a blowout. It's not like nothing spiraled out of control in any way, shape, or form. And he had some good item control for the majority of that as well, just to add things to the tally. And it's just dramiS was just kind of thrown off a little bit, like not expecting a lot of these unorthodox plays, not just going for the frags, but going for a lot of these items, especially for the heavy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I checked at one point, and RMV had like 18 majors. dramiS was down to just 11, so that's a pretty sizable start. That was around halfway through the game, so clearly RMV, very solid control player. I also just really liked some of the plays that he went for. Very creative, inventive, clever, in several ways outplaying dramiS, but the Americans' ability to put out damage at some of these fights was just immense. RMV would make the right positions, would be the first one to get the better position on the item, and still dramiS would somehow get away on top of that fight. So that was part of his downfall in the end.
It certainly was indeed. But going into Corrupted Keep, what's your opinion going to this next matchup? Because we saw how aggressive RMV was. I wouldn't say I would go as far as he was chasing the frags. He was just trying to establish them as fast as physically possible and just trying to get these close range angles. But then again, that was Vale, completely different story now going into Corrupted Keep. So we could see a different style of pace. We could see quite quick collection of frags from the very get-go from the first few minutes. But what's your perspective on it?
I mean, I think important thing to consider are the champion picks, right? So dramiS is going to be running with the Galena, and it will be RMV picking the BJ. So that ties nicely in what you just said, with RMV being a bit more aggressive, right? BJ, definitely a champion that allows you to apply more pressure with that dual wield than Galena would with those totems. So he's going to have to continue playing that way and make sure that dramiS can't get those 3 totems set up, make himself a mobile mega in his pocket, and then lock down the heavy. Because if dramiS is able to do that, then RMV is going to be in trouble.
Well, we did say throughout the entirety of the Quake World Championships that a lot of his matchups are going to be close. We were talking about more the higher echelon in terms of the players, but it looks like in terms of a lot of the bottom seeds, they're here to play as well. And we mentioned it before, they're just trying to prove themselves and take those baby steps into that LAN environment. But RMV seems pretty damn comfortable at the moment going into this second map. They only lost by 1 frag in that 4 or 5 minute sudden death. But let's see what dramiS could do now to either try and seal the deal and take this as a 2-0 sweep, or if RMV can make a comeback here.
Once again, starting off on dramiS's POV. Both of the major items taken right away. Nice little trap by RMV. LG coming out. That's a lot of damage. dramiS unable to stand up against that dual LG. Really good start for RMV. He's going to clean up one of the totems as well. Important to kick things off.
It's one thing to take note, just keep on those hourglasses and try and be careful of the rotations that dramiS will make. Of course, he's well aware of that, picking up that heavy, going straight towards him, and now he's going to try and pin him down into the red room, but decided to back away. It was a huge choke point for him, and you knew full well he didn't really want to stand there too long there, please. So perfectly understandable there. Does a little bit of rocket damage, just back away once more. Stacks almost equal. He's got a Mega and a Heavy almost up in sync. And Dashi gets behind him with his back turn. That's a good amount of damage there from RMV, even though he took a dosage of himself. With dramiS doing a fair amount there as well. But back away again, looks like there's going to be a GA agreement for the two to go for each other's items. We'll have to see how this is going to unfold at the later stages. But so far, RMV with a nice lead.
Second time already that RMV managed to take dramiS by surprise, attack him from behind. So dramiS got to make sure that his awareness is on point, because these are some sneaky plays. I think it's very clear that they haven't really played each other much, if at all, leading up to this.
Well, this is the issue you see, because RMV's not been involved in the Quake Pro League over the last 12 months. We don't know so much his style of play, how he performs, what he does in certain scenarios. There's a lot of little things here and there which RMV can definitely take advantage of, because in terms of his preparation, he can go back and watch all of dramis's footages, his best match, statistically, how he goes through. So there's a lot to talk about there. But right now, in this second map, dramisS is looking very sturdy at the moment of the stack he has. Manages to pick up that light, but Heavy and Mega will be up shortly, and RMV isn't really in a position to get away, and it's been a real tough call to decide when and how to push on out. It does go towards the Heavy, realises it's gone into the side of the hourglass and backs up again to go for that Mega, and if he goes for the TP, at least he'll take out one of the totems.
Yeah, he will with his face, takes quite a bit of damage in return. LG on LG, oh, that dual wield, so nasty, but dramiS, his stack advantage was just too great to overcome in that fight.
I love it as well from RMV. If he just tried to get away, he would have taken way too much damage, and it would have been the cleanest of frags for dramiS. But instead, just used a dual wield, stood his ground, and at least he thought to himself, well, do you know what? Even if I get taken down, at least I've done a huge amount of damage to even try and trade out, or at least try and get control back once more. But again, the GA agreement once more for the items as RMV. Just waiting to see exactly how dramiS, where and when he's going to rotate. dramiS has got that read for that as well. Backs away again with the duel with the LG. He's going to clean house again. He's going to take that lead.
As of around 15 seconds ago, dramiS has had all 3 of his totems up. So look at that. Back to max health. Might as well have just picked up a Mega. I hope that RMV is aware of this. I hope that he's got a plan to clean out those corners of the map as well, because this could get oppressive very quickly. He only won that previous fight because he had the dual wield. If he didn't have his ability, dramiS would have steamrolled him there.
Certainly would have done. Nice little rocket there, just keeps him at the LG, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. He's trying to back away, it does, but how long for? Has the gauntlet ready, but at the same time his back turn, at the same time dramiS goes through. Perfect time in it, but yeah, you're right though. He needs to find his totem. Managed to find one in the end. I think he may have saw a glimpse of the other around those hourglasses outside Red Room. Let's see if he can at least challenge for that Mega, which he has picked it up, but oh, dramiS caught him in a bad place there. Cleans back with the LG, and that's going to be a 3-2 lead.
Now RMV did manage to deny the Mega, but just look at the stack that dramiS has created with his own totem so far. This is going to be very difficult. Shoddy versus Shoddy. Oh, that's still a nice amount of damage before RMV goes down, but now dramiS extending his lead by 2 frags. Heavy is the next item to spawn. There's around 5 seconds between the 2 of them, so let's see if anyone can string them together. I don't think so. dramiS will be too fast. Setting up a sneaky totem right behind the Mega as well.
And this is a good thing so far. This RMV's trying to keep his totem in check to avoid that overstack in the later stages, but it is still 2 up. He needs to be quite wary of that. One at the Mega, one above Heavy Machine Gun. Almost at the halfway stage here. And you can see RMV just waiting to see exactly what information he can have until he pursues control of that Mega. But instead, dramiS just drops straight on down. A little bit of tri-bolt damage there, but had to leave it at a bad time. Trying to rocket away again, but 44 HP. He's looking to try and finish up with the direct earlier. It's not going to help in any means necessary. We'll see if he can at least get one less rocket in. Doesn't, sadly. And now it increases dramis's lead.
An important plan of dramiS' game plan there was to deny the LG, because that has really been RMV's star weapon, especially with the dual wield. Man's hitting 45% LG and has done a vast majority of his damage with just that weapon alone. So dramiS will want to avoid those mid-range fights when the LG is in play.
It does indeed. And now RMV does have map control, but still struggling a little bit with the items that's so far. Heavy's up in the next 15 seconds. We're going to see if he's going to decide just to hold back on Mega or challenge for the Heavy. And dramiS is already in prime position here to get ready to drop down for it, or to see if RMV uses it first, but instead it's 60 damage with that last rocket. They could do a bit more LG there as he drops on down, but yeah, this is a time to get out so far. Completely understandable as he does pick up the Mega and back away again, sees him in the red room, could at least try and clean up or at least put a little bit of pressure onto dramiS, but picks up the light, bounces back up, trying to get top mid, trying to go straight towards it, but that last rocket's not going to help him at all, but the direct certainly will do as he's pulled back once more.
Both players tremendously low right now. dramiS, he has some of those totems on the map, but he's used them all. We'll have to rely on the normal health bubble so far, down to 26 points of health. RMV, can he clean something up right now? He needs to turn the momentum in his favor. Will lose out on the Mega. It's a little painful. And now there's very little time between the items. It's going to make it difficult to get full control, especially when the LG is that murderous dramiS. Just moments ago he was down to 20 points of health, but now he's back in the driver's seat, dominating these exchanges, and now it's RMV running for his life.
Literally flying with the heavy machine gun back there from Red Room towards the other side on rockets.
Yep.
RMV though, hasn't got much time left, and you can see with the stack as well from dramiS, he can just go for the spawn frag if he wants, as he sees fit. He's trying to catch him in Red Room, doesn't get the chance. RMV does get away, but finds him as he goes up the jump pad with the LG. And RMV is going to try and at least put a little bit more pressure on, but it looks like he will not be able to. dramiS comes out, whips out the shotgun, and that's going to be another frag to his name.
dramiS setting up to Heavy very early. Still 6 seconds to go before it spawns. But RMV nowhere around, so it doesn't ultimately matter. dramiS monstrously stacked right now. He is going to catch a glimpse of RMV, wants to push in aggressively. He knows he's got the stack to do it. Plus, he's got more of those tokens to fall back on. But that dual wield, that hurts Lethal, that hurts dramiS. Can't push into the room after all, has to give up the Mega. RMV, he really has to start going on the offense right now.
If he'd done it a little bit earlier, could have taken his totems out earlier as well. We've seen a couple of overstacks already coming from dramiS, and that's a good rocket. He can try and at least get this 8 frag to his name, but does back away into Red Room just to go for that recovery process once more. Still 2 minutes left. We've seen some crazy things so far on Corrupted Keep in the past, haven't we, Flea? But I think this time round, the defense from dramiS is so good. I can probably, if not easily, trade whatever frag RMV could take.
You can just tell by dramiS' playstyle right now. He's just sitting pretty in the corner of a map. He's got a totem at the ready, doesn't even use it. It's probably gonna either wait till he gets into a really good position or in the middle of a fight to pull that out. And now RMV, he's got to chase, but these rockets through these choke points, dramiS turning things around once more. With just a minute left on the clock, Lethal, I fear for RMV's life in the upper brackets.
I certainly do indeed. 5 frags in a minute 10. Almost at the realms of impossibility there.
Yeah.
We'll see what he can do. He's going to probably try and keep visits competitive, or at least as close as possible, as respectable as possible. Visits drop into losers, but he does a little bit of damage with the LG there. So he's going to try and clean up by any means with that dual wield of the shot. He's still got the totem as well. Might actually be able to take him. Yes, he does. But again, finding 4 frags in 45 seconds can be a very difficult task. You have to try and have the cleanest of frags possible after each one. But yeah, it's a tall order.
Most certainly is. Gonna land a nice burst of heavy machine gun right there, but he needs to be able to get up close and personal, and with this little time left, I fear that it just isn't in it for him. dramiS looking solid, especially with defensive rockets like that, and that frag, that super shotgun kill will seal the deal. dramiS getting us the second 2-0 of the day. Congratulations.
So has done indeed. It was a little bit of a shaky start in that first map, but I don't think there's anything in the way of dramiS was playing. He was still playing extremely well. It's just RMV just equaling with the skill between the two of them. But that's going to be GG. That's going to be a clean sweep for dramiS. A nice 2-0 victory there. And commiserations to RMV, but we will see him in the losers bracket. And you never know, could make a good run considering what we saw from his performance.
Oh, absolutely. RMV, I think he really came out quite promising, right? This was a promising performance of the start. But you know who's else very promising? DJ Wheat and what he's got to say about this match.
I mean, what can I say that you guys already haven't said? I think really just thinking about game number one, what an interesting matchup that was. You know, such intensity in those first 10 minutes, and then the moment that overtime hit to think that we went 4 minutes with just the back and forth that we saw there was pretty impressive. I think that there's probably a lot of people in chat saying like, all right, keep an eye on this person. And then dramiS, I think probably, you know, finding his groove, finding that tempo that he was comfortable with. Saw some good frags on both sides, but clearly dramis's game plan just a little bit better in that one. So yeah, the 2-0 sweep, exactly as you all predicted, but certainly giving us maybe a peek into the future here of what RMV might be able to do still in you know, the lower bracket of the tournament. So I think that there's going to set up some really interesting and some real some matchups that we haven't seen before, which will be very exciting. So congratulations to dramiS. He'll be moving on, and yeah, RMV will be dropping down to the lowers, but we have not seen the last of him yet. So let's maybe take a look at the bracket before we take a quick break and move on to our third series. We can start to get an idea, gentlemen, of what matchups are being set up next. You know, we went back to the room where we were all hanging out and watching the games, and we were saying, hey, Dan the King, congratulations, you won your match. Now you're going up versus Killsit, right? So certainly some interesting setups being created here as we've got our winners and our losers here in round of 24. So we'll take a look at those in just a moment. Any other final thoughts about this matchup before we...
I mean, Corrupted Keep to me really just came down to the totems. I think that was just a huge part of it. dramiS got so many of these overstack heals out of that, especially just sitting on his side of the map. RMV really didn't find a way to get into that. And then also dramiS was very quick on adapting his game plan because he could feel that he was getting out LG'd. The LG damage, especially with the dual wield, was just obscenely strong. And so dramiS was just like, you know what? I'm going to stick back, rockets and shotgun, and then some heavy machine gun from all the way on the other side of the map. And that's how I'm going to play it. And worked out beautifully for him.
I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't expect to come on and do a 5-minute sudden death. Second series of the day, literally straight away. That's ridiculous. It was so good.
We were talking about some of the longest sudden deaths that we've seen in QPL, and there was one last season. I think it was like 8 or 9 minutes. Went quite a long time. But I think some of those were also low-scoring games. So this was really interesting, where it's just a back and forth, and then suddenly it's stoppage. And there was some interesting moments in there where you know, I thought dramiS was gonna pretty much clean it up. He had RMV kind of like stuck in a corner, but didn't, like, was being very indecisive on how he was using his grenades and wanting to be careful about. But some great rails. Rocket jump to the end was very interesting. But yeah, we're gonna moving on to our next matchup, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll take a look at the brackets when we come back from the other side. Let's take a quick break, and when we return, it's going to be Cygib taking on Sib here for day one of the Quake World Championships. Don't go away. We're going to be right back.